Hey there, welcome back to the On Brand, On Purpose podcast, where identity, influence, and intentions align. I am so excited to bring on a special guest, Bri Crow, who's been a creative catalyst to my own personal brand over the past 5 years. Listen in as we discuss the role of timeless photography on your confidence and what it means to protect your brand with intention.
Do that fierce one more time. Yes, with the shoulder moment. Yes, bring that shoulder up. Yes. Do it one more time. Yes. I
would love to welcome Miss Crow, who is the founder of Bri Crow Creative and my wonderful photographer. Hey, Bri.
Hey, I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this actually, because it's literally in the moment giving me images of us like whiteboarding your brand back in the day. What year was that we connected?
I genuinely, I bet that was 2018, maybe 2019, but I started my business 2018. But it must have been 2019 because I think that was really the year where I was like, what are we doing? And help me synthesize all of these different things that I do enjoy. And so, yeah, our story has been phenomenal. And I feel like our conversations have always needed to be recorded. So glad we're doing this.
I'm glad we're doing it now for the world to see our goofiness. But okay, so take me back to that year. And I don't know if we've actually had this deep conversation. I know you reached out for me to help you with brand consulting.
Yeah.
But what was going on through your mind when you literally just said that I got to get some things in order here? Like, what was happening?
I had started my business purely it was a layoff, but I was already interviewing and having, looking at what I was going to be doing next when I had clients reaching out to me saying, I worked with them to work with you, so why don't you send me a contract? And so it's not like this was something of a side hustle that I'd already predefined and then I'm going to take it full time. So it was already off to the races. So then, 6 months in, I was like, oh, I thought this was just going to be like a 3-month thing through the holidays. And here we are. This is actually something that appears to be sustainable for me. But also, I do have a lot of different things that I'm either involved in or passionate about. And how to distill them, what I was recurringly hearing was, I'm not sure what Bri does, but you should connect with her. And that's not a bad thing to have. But at the same time, I was at a place of like, okay, well, I guess I am going to develop a website and I probably do need some business cards. What are we putting on that? And how are we defining that to people? And so I think you really helped ask me those questions to figure out if I had an elevator pitch, what was I going to say?
Yeah. You know what's interesting as you're talking, I'm thinking about the fact that when you were laid off, which a lot of people are navigating, people were like, hey, I actually wanted you anyway. And so you had a personal brand.
I guess so. Yeah. At the time, I wouldn't have thought it that way, but yes, absolutely. And just incredibly involved in a lot of out in the community. And so that absolutely has sustained. And I think something that I'm incredibly proud of. I've had my business this year will be 8 years, I believe. What has sustained me and something I'm incredibly proud of is my clients have not come from cold calls. I have sustained a 7-year business 100% through a network and referrals through COVID. So,
it's so much we can go into that. Because, and what you didn't state is because you had a brand that sells itself, right? I think that is the ultimate end goal, by the way. In fact, there's a quote that I read that says, the greater your brand, your personal brand, the cheaper your marketing. And, and it was something along that line, but it's so true, right? Where you don't need to push so much. You have a magnetism that pulls people in, which is really cool. But, for the audience, I want to clarify that Bri didn't come to me for personal branding work, right? It's funny as I even venture into talking about personal branding more, like back then, we were connecting because I was just a brand coach for entrepreneurs and businesses. And I had passion in helping that business owner really understand what makes them special, differentiated, their unique selling proposition. And what it always comes down to is you, the founder. Right. And so that's where we did take a lot of time massaging who you were, which you probably didn't even want to do that,
Well, you don't, unless you're doing, some quiz where it's like, 50 questions about yourself, you don't necessarily have someone who's not just a friend and not just your family ask about what are you trying to do? Who are you? And a big piece of what I think I also talked to you about was what is the business structure? Like, how am I distilling who I am into services as well? Because how are we making money? It's the brand and how to then make it actually into something that makes you money.
Okay. So I think we kind of skipped over the fact of what do you do? Like what is your day? That would be
We just
helpful.
got right into it. Like, let's.
So Pri, tell me what you do.
Yeah, I do photo, video, and content management. That's
Mhm.
really a summarization of it. And I think another way to describe that, though, is I help businesses and individuals have the visual assets to then use in their content, use for content marketing, whether that's through social media. That seems like, sure, the immediate thing that I need a photo for my profile, but it's also your website. Do you have a blog? Are you going to be a featured speaker? Are you going after some press and want to be featured in the news and have an editorial piece about you? So it's the visual assets piece. And then I also help companies then say, okay, well, you've taken the photo and you've taken the video. What am I doing with it now? And actually turning that into content across all the different platforms. So very much living in the digital sphere.
I'm so proud of you.
You have helped me get to this point, undoubtedly.
That was so wonderful because again, Bri, like I remember us whiteboarding, I forget Common Desk where we were,
Yes, yes.
in Dallas, and us literally trying to pinpoint those words,
Yep.
of all the things that you can do, and look at you.
And I think that's what it takes the quiet time. And it's so hard, I think, for anyone who's really busy to set aside time to think. You literally have to do that. Like, and then also do the messy notes of just random jargon and words that come out. And I think it took a lot of time to keep it messy and then figure out what's like the clear message. And it
Yeah.
has to feel real and authentic.
Yeah, and what I sense from you is also this comfort level now of being able to like articulate that. And when we talk about branding, I remember you and I trying to designate who your target audience was.
Mhm.
And most people, most new entrepreneurs are like, I want everybody. I want all the dollars,
Yeah.
right? And this essence of narrowing feels limiting, but ultimately it helps you now clearly communicate, versus trying to do all the other things that I know that you're capable of that you didn't even mention. So
Yeah. Well, and I will say one of the early, and I wish I remember where I got this, who said it to me. I wouldn't be surprised if you said it to me at some point, but you are not your ideal audience.
I said that to you for sure.
I'm not surprised because in terms of who's buying from you and how you're messaging yourself and how you're pricing yourself, I was like, right, exactly. And it's something like I still think about it. So
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, very rarely, or I shouldn't say rarely, oftentimes you can be your target audience,
Mhm.
but it's also acknowledging when you may not be as well, right? Whether that is a like age, demographic difference, right? I know, for instance, you moved from Dallas to Seattle.
Yeah.
And so now you have to think about the mindset, the lifestyle of people out there, which is nuanced than even Dallas. And
Mhm.
you had to adjust. So I think all of those factors go into it where you have to like take a step back and understand like who am I trying to target? Let me make sure I'm aware of all my blind spots of being aware of that target. And I think that's important because again, we often talk about it in the sense of a business, but personal branding has a target audience as well
Yes. Yeah.
as well. So many avenues we can go down right
I
now.
know.
I want to go back to your confidence.
Mm.
How did you start to develop that confidence in your personal brand? I mean, you can go beyond the years in which we connected. I mean,
Mhm.
tell me a little bit more about your journey with that.
I trust my gut a lot. I'm very intuitive of what feels right. And I'm also very curious. I think curiosity is 100% one of the values that I appreciate, rely on, and think is incredibly important for anyone. And because I was curious, I went to any kind of, and this is obviously pre-COVID, but I would say that I do this now again as well, to every networking event, and industry event, conference. It didn't matter if it was, X, Y, and Z. I was willing to at least be in the room, because I also remember advice that I got from my hairstylist going into college. It doesn't matter if you're late, if you're hungover or tired, you need to be in the room. And I remember her saying that before me going into college, just get to the
Yep.
room. And I applied that in professional as well, is like, just be in the room. Some people hate networking. They want to be a wallflower. My advice, just be in the room. So then the confidence was coming from, I was gaining so much information and perspective from all of these different sectors of
Mhm.
levels of professionals, but also industries. So then I felt like I had something to contribute because I was learning from all of these rooms. The next place I go to, I can tell you about what I just learned at this room. And so the confidence came from just like, oh, well, I was just there. I could actually help you connect with that person. And you start to realize that by being helpful to other people, it gives you a sense of purpose, sure, but also confidence in knowing that if I go to a room, I can contribute. I can help someone here. And if I can't help someone here, I'm at least listening and I can help someone in the next room.
Yeah. And, it reminds me that, again, we were connected through an introduction, and I can't even recall who,
I really wish I could. Like, I can't either.
but we were connected through someone who obviously referred you because of your skill set. And I want to say, well, let's back up. Did we connect because of the photo shoot you did for us?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. But I don't know who got us in touch to actually do that.
Yeah. But either way, I mean,
Yeah.
just exactly what you just said. And I think in the inverse, we trusted each other pretty quickly,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And on both sides, right? For one, for you to do photography for my organization, and then ultimately my headshots for
Hmm.
several years, but then also for you to trust me when it came time to working on your brand. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And really how the ecosystem should work around here.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many opportunities. And a lot of that came from talking about what we do. It
Mm.
wasn't just, I'm here to do this one thing. If I didn't ask questions and we didn't have conversation about what else do you do, what else are you interested in and passionate about and stuff like that, then that conversation may not have come up. So,
I agree. And I think just to continue to build on that, my gut is we were vulnerable in the moment, which we currently are. So my assumption is we were back then as well, to say,
yeah.
this is what I know and what I don't know. And this is the journey that I'm on. And that's how we were able to exchange services, if you will, because I'm like, hey, I can help you with that. And you're like,
Yeah.
I can help you with that. Right. And
Yes.
look at that iron sharpening iron there through that authenticity and that vulnerability.
Professionally, I'm pretty definitely I was a business development person and I was specifically in sales. So maybe it's kind of always been there, but I'm not afraid to shoot my shot. Like I will absolutely at the end of a conversation be like, and if you ever need X, Y, and Z, let me know. Like I'm always gonna, I literally just said it I was doing a photo shoot this morning. Guy walks by and he's like, oh, were you our photographer? And I was like, I don't think so. There's literally no possible way. And he was like, okay, he's walking away. And I was like, but if you do ever need a photographer, and I like ran up to him and gave him my card. Like I'm never afraid to shoot my shot in a conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's the that's the job you signed up for now, right? That is your full time. So I want to demystify some personal branding stuff a little bit and using ourselves as examples,
Yeah.
right? So we've gotten to know each other. I think you started doing a photo shoot for my organization. I think that's where it first started.
Hmm.
And similarly, I was coming in and supporting you and building out your brand and your architecture of your brand and all of that fun stuff. And then it led to, I need some headshots myself, right? And to be clear, and those of you who follow me, every headshot I've had in the last 4 years, I want to say, was Bri, to be clear. And what's interesting about the headshots that we've done, which I wouldn't even call them headshots anymore, they're like, what would you call it?
Like editorial portraits.
You're taking editorials.
Yeah.
but they're classic. No, and to be quite frank, I didn't need to take my latest round last year. I only took it because my hair was slightly different color, right? Because I think I had, but the point is like that houndstooth, that
Yeah.
blue, that's my staples. They're continue to be my staple power
Mhm.
colors and palettes. And, I chose to want to retake more editorial
Yeah.
photos. And I think that just shows the power of having a great photographer like yourself. But for me to also have a clear brand that has stayed consistent year over year, because those photos, in fact, someone just used a photo from, if you remember me sitting in a chair at the Renaissance.
Yes.
And they used that photo, which begins like 4 years ago. And I'm like, why didn't you use my current one? They were like, I just found this on the internet. I don't know. And I was like, well, at least I look good, and it's just having that confidence to know whatever photo you find of me online,
Yes.
it's going to be good.
Right. I
It's
love
gonna
that. I love that. And I actually, it makes me incredibly excited that you used that word because that is one of the words that I would use and do use to describe my business is timeless. So one of them is candid, one of them is timelessness. So yeah, I love that.
so let's talk about that. Timeless, right? And
Yeah.
so you're building a business of creating timeless creative outputs, inclusive of photography, right? The essence in that is that timeless literally means it can stand the test of time.
Mhm.
Let me ask you, why do you think our photography was timeless?
I think a big piece of it does go into editing and post processing and how the colors show up and how the photo is being edited. Because absolutely, I will still have clients who have a brand or a need that is trend specific and absolutely pivot, alter, add some graininess, add some direct flash, whatever the moment might be. But I also think that when I think back to the thing that I'm probably doing consistently and like requested to do the most consistently is those photos when I say like editorial portraits, that it's like, if you get an opportunity, this could be in the Entrepreneur magazine. This could be on a Forbes article. This could be, it's not stuffy corporate. I would say it's timeless. And so you're never knowing, oh, that was shot in 2019.
Yeah.
Ideally is the goal to not have it stamped in that way. And so sure, it might be outfit wise, but I think a big piece of it is the editing style.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And you know what you and I talked about, and I will hope you share this example of, the input. So you talk about some of the things that you do on the output, right, to
Yeah.
ensure that it feels timeless. But when it comes to the person coming to you, right, you can use myself or any other client as an example. What gives you your best output when it comes to that person?
Yeah. So I had a client who is actually a colleague or former colleague of yours, saw your photos and reached out to me. And that's how we worked together as well. And so we had our initial kind of conversation like, what are you looking for? How are you going to be using these? What do you want it to convey? And after that conversation, then it was, okay, I go off, I start doing some location scouting based on that. But then she sent me a 3-page deck saying, here's about my brand. Here's my new business. I really want this kind of, and it was one photo from Pinterest, one photo from, something else. And so there were specific things that I think she pointed out that she liked, and then certain things that she was like, yeah, but I actually don't like this about this image. So there was some real clarity because I think it's great when somebody tells me what they really do like about an image, but also I really love it when somebody tells me what they don't like about a photo. Like, well, you want new photos because you had old ones. Okay, great. What didn't you like about those? Is it just that, oh, it was, I mean, I understand if it was, oh, I just haven't had a new one in 15 years. But a lot of times it's been sooner and you just want something new. And I'm like, is it just feeling like someone was giving you the wrong angles and you're like, that's not, that's not working for me?
Mhm.
Or is it something about the way that it was captured or that was included? And so, yeah, coming to me with that clarity about what you like and what you don't is phenomenal. And if you can't, I'm going to extract it from it. I'm going to slowly ask some questions.
Yeah. And what I love is that you start to understand what you need to create the best output, right? And whether that is that person giving you a brief, if you will, or you knowing the right questions to ask. And your hope is that the person on the other end knows how to respond to it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things with personal branding that, to your point, I want more people to think through, right? Like
Mhm.
who you are and who aren't you, right? What do you
Yeah.
like? What don't you like? And that, I mean, it's all correlated to understanding like who you're trying to attract and who is a distraction.
Mhm.
Because only from there can you get your greatest output. And so someone being able to discern or review something and say, hey, that's not me.
Mhm.
Again, that enables someone like you to say, perfect. That gives me another input.
Yes, absolutely. Because of that, and if folks don't have a clear idea of what they might be looking for, like they know they need a photo, but they're like, what that looks like, I have no idea. I trust you. And I'm like, love that. Here's a document because I love black and white photography. Are you cool with some like really cool, edgy black and white photography that looks really classic? Oh no, you are bright white and airy. Okay, right. So I've created some documents that help you go, are you A, B, C, D, or E, that include sample photos that I've taken of clients to be able to help give those visual assets if someone is unclear about it. But there's a distinct difference, and how you see yourself is one thing, and then, how it can turn out is another. Yeah.
No, and that's it's so powerful, and I want people to really pick that up because again, I do get people who reach out and say, "Man, I love your photography," and who's your photographer? And of course, I refer you. But there's also a part in my head that says it doesn't want them to discount the strategy.
Yep.
Yes,
Absolutely.
you're going to produce amazing photos. You are going to, of course, inquire. What you're ultimately doing with your inquisition is trying to pull out some of that strategy,
Mhm.
and that's where I want people to understand, like your best output, you need to do some internal work to drive that clarity, right?
Yeah.
For that vendor. Has there been an example where you maybe didn't produce your best work?
You know, I'm trying to think. I mean, and that's the same thing that I was thinking from that conversation, and I'll maybe come up with an example of that. But it's sometimes it's the photos then aren't used, or, you can tell if like a profile photo is not immediately updated with the photo or something like that. I will message so many times, like, is there something that you want to see different? I want to make sure 100%. I mean, I'm not going to like put it out there, but like 100% satisfaction guaranteed. You know what I mean? Like, you let me know what we need to make happen. But I think a lot of it is people do hate being in front of the camera. And I hate how much people hate on themselves. It's so hard for me to hear all of the negative self-talk that happens in a photo shoot conversation and during a photo shoot. But there's far more stress and anxiety on the day of if they're unclear because it feels forced, or like because there's uncertainty, then it kind of carries as a through line through the process. And like they're the type that might want to cancel day of because they're just like, I don't want to do it. Or, they get the gallery and they're like, oh, I'm not really sure, and struggle to select favorites or something like that. And so I think that being able to have a conversation about what you want to put out there, who are you, helps build the confidence to get to a place where being in front of the camera is like, yeah, I do have something to say. I do want people to hear about what I'm working on, and I do have something to add or contribute. So I'm still thinking of a scenario that
No,
might.
but I think what you just explained is so, again, powerful because what you're sharing is outside of your craft, you're a human after all, right? And so
Totally.
you want to produce your best work. You want their confidence because that helps your confidence, right? And if they're coming with a lot of like questions and concerns and trepidation, like you just said, it's going to bleed over a little bit over into your world, right?
Mhm.
Like guessing yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think personal branding is so powerful and how it bridges so many facets of our lives, but also like the human connection, right? You have one person in the room who's not clear on who they are, it's just going to have a ripple effect some way or another,
It really, having a strong, that personal brand element, I genuinely think adds confidence and comfort in the moments that you are the most nervous. So when you are the most uncomfortable, the most nervous, whether that's a public speaking event, a networking event, being in front of the camera, these things that you want to do or are needed to be able to level up your career, are the things that are going to make most people nervous. We're going to be a little awkward or feel a little bit uncomfortable. But if you have a strong personal brand, because you know in the back of your mind you can rely on, I can rely on, I do photo, video, and content management, and I have visual assets for content marketing. Like that right there, those are things you then lean on in the nervous moments. And so I think it can help you sidetrack the thing that makes you want to not do it.
Yeah, you know what I tell folks is like your personal brand toolkit, which is inclusive of your photography, right? Your headshots. It's a cheat code. It's a tool.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, any of my coworkers know when a great photography that we did is one of my headshots for my teams, and it's looking sharp. The
Yeah.
bobbing. And I love it because usually I get on a call. If I'm not on a call with my video, people are like, huh? Charisse and her headshot. And that picture does so much more for me than people even realize. Because
Mm.
maybe I'm not on video because I don't feel good, right? Or, I get nervous often. I was just on a panel recently and I was nervous, super nervous. I don't know why it just kind of hit me that day. I was just like, I'm just nervous. But my brand, the branding cues that I had all around me from my outfit to the style, right? To frankly, people knowing who I am
Yeah.
already,
Yeah.
it enabled me to kind of work through that nervousness or that discomfort or whatever was going on in my mind, probably hunger too. I'm just notorious for not eating before a panel. But my branding did the job for me while I was working through the mental. And I think that's what we're talking through. It's like the photography that you're doing, your headshots, your editorials can help. They're a tool.
Another example of this to me was I memorized and had this line, and it perfectly described in a micro moment at a networking event of how to describe what I did was my worlds collide between tech, creative, DEI, and entrepreneurship. So if you're involved in something like that, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you have an event coming up, let me know. That line right there for me was like literally said 50 times in a night, and it's what's on my LinkedIn profile. And it helps people understand what I'm interested in, what you can come to me about, and different things like that. So I think for me, a line like that is something that's a part of my personal brand.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. And it's broad enough, I mean, to have many layers to it, right? Because
Yeah.
again, while I was proud that you were able to succinctly communicate what you do, that can evolve, right? And that personal branding can evolve. It's not meant to be static. It is a tool to give you that confidence
Yeah.
as well. So, I often tell people again, in us working together with our photo shoots, there's trust that, and I think about our last photo shoot actually,
Mhm.
where again, Bri lives in Seattle. Last minute, you were coming into Texas, and I was like, ooh, great time for me to get some headshots. And what do we have, a week or two,
Yeah.
maybe, to pull it together? And because you knew me, at that point, we have worked more closely together on multiple things.
Mhm.
We've had vulnerability, and authenticity in our dialogues, whether on the phone or through social media. And so I knew that Bree's got that part under control. All I need to go do is get my hair done and my makeup. Right. And I think that was so cool because for someone like me, I don't have the capacity to think through everything. I don't want to, but I do, I'm very particular.
I think you have a clear vision of what you're going for. So happy to work within that, yes.
And I love that you articulated that very positively. But yes, some may call it anal, but type A. But yeah, I am very clear.
You're protective of the brand.
Yes, I am protect. I love that. I'm going to use that now when people like talk crap. Or like,
You
I am
you
protective of my brand.
absolutely, genuinely, I say that in this most sincere way because I think that has what is something that's added to your timelessness and the consistency of what people know and expect and reach out to you about.
Yeah, that's cool. Look at you feeding into me. I needed
Yes.
that today, especially. When you have that trust and you have enough information, right? This isn't surface level connection here,
Mhm.
right? This is
Mhm.
us being vulnerable about the journeys of our careers and family and all of that fun stuff. And so when you have that, you have clarity on your brand, you can make a lot of magic happen. And that is like, again, the beauties of having your personal brand is the efficiency,
Mhm.
you know?
Absolutely. Well, and
And
it
that,
had to have helped you pick your outfits. I think that's a big thing that stresses people out about photo
Mhm.
shoots. What am I wearing? Well, I have a closet. Now all of a sudden you hate your closet when you're looking at it or something like that. Because you had such a strong personal brand, something I picked up from you when you were doing that. And when we had this kind of short lead up time, you're like, okay, well, I know I want the blue. I know I want the houndstooth. Let me add one more outfit that will add another diverse element to those photos. And because I knew your brand as well, I was able to then go location scouting, send you 3 links. Hey, these are 3 different things. Are you craving this style? I know you like the layers and the depth. This one probably would be my recommendation. Because, like, here's options, but here's my recommended based on what I do know from how you like your images and things like that to have the depth and layers and things like that. So I think in that moment, it allowed us to just work quicker.
and that's, oh, it's so many facets of this. But when I talk about how, or I should say, when people ask me, like, how do you do what you do? I never know generally how to respond to that because I'm just on autopilot, quite frankly. I don't even know what I do all day. I need to have a camera just at home. I know I don't eat. I'll tell you that much. I know what I don't do, which is eat
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Terrible.
when people ask, how do you do what you do? It's just things just happen. Things are in motion. And when I really broke it down though, when I had to take the time to say, okay, how do I actually answer people? Um, in a way that's helpful, right? I can't just say that I'm just me, right? What it really is I have so many efficiencies baked into my life because of my personal brand. So many efficiencies. And what I mean by that is exactly what you just discussed. We within 2 weeks were able to just knock that photo shoot out because you knew my brand. You were able to have some discernment as you were doing your part. I think it's so funny, by the way, that yes, literally every photo shoot I've done has the blue and has the houndstooth. Now it
Yeah.
looks different actually because I wear a
Yeah.
houndstooth skirt. But I'm very consistent and those are my staples and they're classic and it enables me to be consistent year over year, even though it looks different, the
Right.
background and all of
Yeah.
that. But that is the power. And I think that is what I want more people to take away from doing the dirty work, right? Getting your hands dirty and clarifying your brand is going to make a lot of decisions easier for you and the people who you need to rely on.
You like decision trees, right? Like that's a whole thing. It's kind of like you're creating your own version of an infographic where it's like if it's this, it's this. If it's that, it's this. And especially for busy moms, for example, and you've
Mhm.
got all these other decisions to make and stuff like that. Make these up front to where when somebody comes to you and asks for something specific, you're kind of like, doop, 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 doop. What's my answer for that? It creates your own encyclopedia
Mm.
and hopefully is something that makes it easier.
Oh, it does. It does. And that's to the point where I don't really think about all the things I do. And it's so funny because when I was picking a mug,
Hey, listen.
like, am I corny or what? But this is the decor in my home. This is
I love
the
that.
wallpaper, right? It's just
Yes.
embedded. I don't have to worry about what backdrop I'm going to put on a team's call. It's written. It is written.
Decided that's the perk of a strong wallpaper for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is decided.
I love
Um,
that.
and my mugs also, it's funny. It's actually quite comical. Well, this is great because, again, I really want people to understand and respect the amount of work that it takes to be a photographer or content creator holistically, really just to assist that you need from that person to really give you the best output and creativity as well. Because going back to your point, if you know the box that you get to play in, some people don't like boxes, right? Some people are like, oh, I just want to be free, right? But I would argue most entrepreneurs I know want a box. They want a scope. And that gives them their safety net. And
Hmm.
then they can play within that.
Yep. Yep. Like, okay, tell me the 2 shots that we absolutely need to get. And then based on that, after like something that I definitely do love is like, let's get the first couple of shots that you for sure need to get. But then also having a little bit of like, okay, now that I know your personality or now that I know how you're energy is or something like that, I can make some other suggestions that somebody's like, no, I for sure. And I'm sure bridal, for example, like people who help get their bridal dress, they're probably like, I want this dress. And then they try it on and they're like, oh, actually, you know, that also exists in photo shoots.
Right.
It totally does. Like, oh, I want this specifically, but then you can pick up on someone's energy and the way they move in the world. And by the end of the shoot, I'm like, if you'll trust me, I think let's do this. And it's something I can always see is their smile from the first photo that I take of them to the smile at the end of a photo shoot. We're talking like two different, there's a twinkle in the eye over here. You know what I mean? Like they're having a good time. Can I add a random, it's a tangent, but can I add a tip on something that is natural? In a photo shoot, if you book an hour, it's definitely run and gun. You're going like super quickly, but the magic starts to really happen 30 minutes in. Like it's the last 15 to 30 minutes there. I do recommend a lot of times if people can, it's obviously not as cheap as a 1 hour photo shoot, for example, but if they can do it, having 2 hours, because that whole last like hour and a half, last hour, we're in a flow state. Literally, you're comfortable in the camera, you have forgotten all of the other things, and I'm hyping you up. It's a cheerleader moment and you're actually having fun with it. Those are like 99% of the time the images that end up being in your selected favorites.
No, I think that's great advice. And I think you and I even talked about that. We know we had a short window, but we made sure we booked I want to say we booked 3 hours. We booked a lot of time. But I think that is especially true if you're working with someone new for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Because you do have to warm up. That person has to get confident. You know that I don't actually like being on camera.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that.
I was going to say, I bet most people don't, but yeah, this right here is you going, fine.
I didn't want to do it. Even our photo shoots, you know, I stump around like, fine, Bri.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, boom, 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 boom. We get it done. But
and then I show you a couple and you're like, okay.
So again, it's just so interesting how again your personal brand could be your cheat code, right? Because again, I get very nervous on stages. I also get very nervous in networking events. And maybe nerve is not the right word for networking per se. I think it's just like energy, my energy source. Just right. Sure I try to just maintain my energy when talking to a lot of people. You know, I'm an ambivert. And some days I'm more introverted than I am extroverted. And so trying to be present is hard at times. And so, you know, to know that I have a brand and I have brand cues like having a bob, for example, which for some reason or another, people don't want me to let it go. They're like, that is you. I'm like, I could do so much more.
I'm capable of so much more.
I can do a ponytail if you let me.
Yes.
No, I gotta keep
oh my gosh, I've actually never seen you in a ponytail. I can't even.
You probably haven't.
No, that's actually shocking.
Oh, okay.
With the amount of people, with the amount of like ponytail culture of just like, oh, I'm tired today. Let me just ponytail. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen your hair. Definitely never in a claw clip. Like no claw clip.
That's not on brand.
Ponytail.
But and I think I laugh about it. I get annoyed by it too because I really want to grow my hair out. And people are like, no, you can't. It's your brand. But it's, oh my God, like I said, it makes my life easier. It's efficient, you know?
Yeah.
One, maintenance. But then two, it's like, I know that I don't have to worry about what my hair says when I walk the room, which by the way, most people don't think about that. I do.
Right. Well, I think to your point about, you know, like you want to grow out your hair and people say, no, it's your brand with the bob. In some ways, I would almost push back on that because I've also firmly believed that when you have a strong personal brand and we're talking about something that's not business brand, your personal brand will carry you through a pivot, a career transition. You could completely change industries. The strong personal brand can help you persevere through a change because a big piece of it is what people say about you when you're not in the room. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I would say be like, let's not kid ourselves that people would still know, love, recognize Charisse based on so many other things. But I think another table stake of the personal brand is the ability to help you lean on that through a transition or a pivot.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at a minimum, I'm known as the girl with the bob, you know, and I'll take that.
Yeah.
The bobs.
The bob is back for sure. I mean, it never left, to be clear. You carried it through, but right now, for sure, the bob is having a moment.
I carried it for the last couple of years. So let's get into your personal brand. We're going to go back, swing into your world, right? And, as you think about how you have evolved and where you want to go, like how confident do you feel in your brand today?
Oh, I feel incredibly confident in the brand today, and I think that's also something very intentional. I just did a whole, over, a December, January, February, took months to go, okay, I want to level up as well. I want to not only be the individual, but the agency. And what does that look like in terms of you adding to the team, making sure that we're all marching toward the same thing? And also, what is it perceived as broader? So much of an entrepreneur or business owner's personal brand is tied up in a business, but how can I also extend that into a business that is bigger than just me? Because I think that's a step in and of itself. So I've definitely worked on infusing my personal brand, but into something where it's like Bri Crow Creative, and sure, it's Bri Crow behind the camera, but I want it to be something bigger than that. So I've spent some time this year doing that and launched a new website and continuing to put out some new content that has probably a new look and feel, should have a new look and feel compared to what other people knew. And I love it.
I think that's interesting when people say they want their business to be bigger than their brand. And I find like this encounter people,
Oh, she's going to
entrepreneurs.
coach me right now. She'll be like,
I know. Yeah, this happens.
ah,
And now here's our coaching segment.
please. Real live feedback session. I'm completely open to it.
Oh, I'm so typical. I don't know if I have an answer actually, because I guess where I was going with that is oftentimes when people are saying, I don't necessarily want to be in front of the brand. I don't want my brand to just be only solely tied to me. I really want to like go deep into that. Like, why? And here's why I say that. Because I literally just came off of going to a conference and listening to Oprah, who goes by her first name. What is her last name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does she have
Yeah.
a last name?
She is the business.
Does she have a last name?
Yeah.
Does she?
It's somewhere in there.
I think that's the ultimate goal is when you can walk into a room and don't have to even introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I think so. And I guess where I'm going is as an entrepreneur, and I'm not saying everyone has to be the next Oprah, but I love that she has been able to pivot into various arenas through the strength of her name. And I do
Yeah.
see sometimes entrepreneurs want to eventually say, oh, I want a team, and I don't want my name tied to my business anymore because now it's a team.
Right.
And it's like, I love that you're thinking about the collective, but to be clear, your business exists because of you. You're getting into rooms because of you. So yeah, I don't know if I have an answer. This isn't a necessary coaching
Yeah,
title.
no. I mean, and a big piece of it though too. I mean, for me, yes, it absolutely makes sense to be in front of the camera. So much of how I grow my business and sell my business is through content marketing. And I'm not even an influencer. I definitely I feel like that's an entire tangent we can go on is you don't have to have tens of thousands of followers to have a successful content marketing, campaign platform, whatever. But I think it's also a matter of what is your business? And if it's a product, I understand that might be a little bit different in terms of being front and center. But, with mine in particular, people do come to me because of the personality that comes along with my work. It's not just the type of camera that I use or something like that. So I do think that it makes sense for me to be front and center and also on camera and doing we're in kind of a tricky world where it's like if you don't want to be a content creator or in front of the camera, got to get creative with it and lean on someone who will be your content creator just in other somehow creative ways. It enters in a whole other conversation.
Yeah, no, and I think it's, I think at some point we can probably go down that rabbit hole because what you didn't state that is likely what you're thinking. And something that I think about is it's exhausting.
Oh yeah, it's a whole job.
When you are the brand, it can be exhausting because you don't know when you can turn off.
Mhm.
And I would say that that is true. And maybe why I do struggle a bit with, networking sometimes, or even, me, going back and forth on my introversion, extroversion is I think that exhaustion, quite
I'm
frankly.
Truly, like the digital piece of it is sucking our dopamine. So the minute that you're online to get an idea of what the trends are, what's going out there, how you might be able to participate, contribute, or whatnot, while you're doing that, dopamine is like literally running out, at the same time. So then to click record, be in front of the camera. But I think really to your point about the exhaustion piece, like all of that can be tiring in and of itself. But then you have to take that and go, am I also the one editing it? And the thing that people undoubtedly misunderstand is how much time it takes to edit something like the TikTok that you saw and you loved and blah, 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 blah. And it looked so seamless and effortless. The work that it took to look seamless, effortless, and like really enjoyable to just watch took hours.
Mhm.
And who's also has that time? Broader conversation, tangent.
I
Don't get me
know.
on the soapbox.
No, but I think, even correlated to personal branding and your ability to edit, right? Your ability to say, all right, I know I'm going to have to correct that on Shirley. She's not going to like that. Or whomever client, I
Yeah.
think is to your point, is an underrated or underthought,
Yeah.
part of the process. So I think it's knowing your brand is going to be so critical, and being able to communicate that brand
Yeah.
that you can do like whatever you want to do. And because you started playing with filters and stuff, and you
Yeah.
were, I think I was like, but Bri, I don't like brown. So why is this brown?
No, the curtains, yeah, the curtains had like a color, and we were like, I think we liked it in the studio, but then when it came to like editing it, it was like to get vibrancy. The minute I bumped up the vibrancy, it was like, oh, that's like orange, actually. Wait a second. And so then you really do go back to how to mute.
Mm-hmm.
We leaned on personal brand to go, wait a second, we need to actually, do a little bit more on hue, saturation, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's,
And I think again, people don't think about all those small details, but that color of that curtain,
yeah,
I pushed back, right? And I was
yeah,
like, Bri, that one, because for me, I knew that hue of brown did not at all go with my brand at all.
right.
Even though
Yeah.
it was a curtain in the background,
Yeah.
I knew that it would shift something,
Uh-huh.
And so
Uh-huh.
I think me being even, I don't want to say bullish because we literally just like, hey girl, change that. You were like, okay, cool, right? But having that confidence to say, hey, it's a small detail. It wasn't a small detail. It was a
It was,
curtain that was
yeah.
there, right?
It was
But
either use this set of images in this scene or not change.
and me just being confident to say, I don't like that part. Can we try something different?
Protective of the brand. I'm going to say, like, you're like, no, I'm anal about it. And that's where I literally see protective of the brand. And it's something that I would beg for as a photographer. I need to know. And people are always so afraid. You are not, this is something that is for you. I am here for you. I am offering you a service. If you don't like something, I'm not guaranteeing that I can change it, but 9 times out of 10, absolutely can change it. When you told me you didn't like the color, I'm like, okay, so, because you were right in front of it, right? So then it does take work to make sure I'm isolating one color and not,
Mhm.
messing up with other things. But you tell me why you don't like it, what you would like to look different. And I think I sent you back a couple of options like,
You
hey,
do.
it could look like this, or this. Which direction am I going? And so, but that was being protective of your brand and being able to communicate it. And that's like
And
dream client.
but no, but no, in all seriousness, I think where we're going is oftentimes people, they don't have that level of clarity on their
Yeah,
brand. They don't have the courage to push on things that may disrupt their brand. And therefore they'll say, Bree, thank you for your services.
yeah,
And you never see those photos posted again.
literally. I've seen it and literally I will see it happen. I'll never see the photos and I'm like, okay. So I will send probably like a month or two apart from each other, like just checking in. Was there something you were looking for different in the edit? Is there something that you don't like? Please don't hesitate. And they're like, no, I loved them. And I'm like, that's technically I got my money. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, if you don't want to use them, that's totally fine. But I will definitely try to make sure I ask every single time, like, and I'm always even, if someone, and I've never had to do this, thank goodness, but I think when I was really uncertain because I never saw the photos being used, I was like, I will reshoot for you for free if you need, like, if you really didn't like them, we will do a reshoot, you know, and they don't take me up on it. But to your point about courage, like,
And in my gut, and of course, we've never been in that scenario before, but my
yeah,
gut is that person knows you did your best and they weren't confident in themselves, right? And so, on one hand, I don't blame, because some people love to point the blame, right? And
yeah,
it sounds like perhaps in those scenarios, they're just like, did I even know what I wanted? You
yeah,
know, what I love hearing from you is your purpose and passion are tied into what you do. Like you take it as a win and you take some things as failures, right?
mhm,
Even if the client is not intending to do that.
mhm,
It's not just a cash cow thing for you. It is your
yeah.
passion. And that exudes through how you show up and how you think
Oh, good.
creatively about it. And so I just want folks to understand that oftentimes these people are working within their craft and their purpose, and they want to produce the best output. Help them help you,
Yes.
get there. That would be great. So, Miss Crow,
Yes.
how would you describe your brand in three magical words?
I would say candid.
Mm.
So candid is a big one for me. Candidness, timelessness, and comfortability.
Mm.
So, I mean, I would say like empowering, sure. I definitely think a big piece of my work is empowering, but now we're getting into bonus words here. But, you know, I think those three can always point back to something specific as a part of the experience of working with me. And so, yeah,
Candidness, timeless.
comfortability and timelessness.
Because you use candid, classic, and comfort.
I probably could.
I
I
love my.
love that. Yes, yes, yes. Well, because you also helped me come up with the tagline that is still my, we haven't even touched on this. You helped me come up with the tagline that is my tagline on LinkedIn, which is Catalyst for Creative Connection. And I tell you, I love that line. Like, that is my no need to change. So, yeah, a fifth official author on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you loved it. And obviously, I'm not a copywriter by any means. I wouldn't consider
Yeah.
myself to be like savvy in writing copy, but I'm a marketer that loves alliteration. But I
Yeah.
also was, what we were working on was trying to bridge everything that you just mentioned into like a point of view.
Mhm.
And I love that you still use that. In fact, I've started leveraging the word catalyst a bit more as well to
Yeah.
like define what I do. So that's awesome. The ultimate desire or win for you is to do your best work, of course, for that client, but it's also to have that as your portfolio,
Hmm.
right? And so as
Hmm.
you were talking about someone not posting what you thought was pretty solid, they're not recognizing that, you're kind of not helping you build out your portfolio. And I guess I would love to elaborate, get your perspective on that. But before you do, I do want to give like an example of how that impacts me as well,
Hmm.
right? So, us working together, we align on this tagline, this hook for who Bri Crow is. And I want to see you use it. I want to see how it translates
Yeah.
to growth of your business.
Hmm.
This is my last question, I think. Has there been a client you've turned down? You're like, no, I need all money. The money.
Yeah, right. Well, and I'm just thinking, okay, hasn't turned down yet, but would I think they plan on coming back? So worked together previously, and we would be coming up on the time that they might reach out again. And it's a no from me, or it's here's the new price.
That's a rabbit hole we will go
Yeah.
down another day, but so tied to personal branding, by the way, your pricing strategy. But yeah, I see you. I
Right,
understand.
right.
I
Yeah.
understand. But
Well, I actually can answer that in a different way that I think might appeal to what you're talking about is there's an element of I've delivered photos and clients have then either added filters or done their own editing on
Mm.
photos and then tagged me in the photos. And I've had to have conversations and change the way that I work as well to be clear about like, it's either don't tag in any photos whatsoever, which is never required from the beginning, anyways. But if you're going to alter the images, I no longer want to be associated because I literally can't have that tied. but also, there's definitely different parts of the photo process that, like, to your point, are definitely something of protecting the brand.
Protecting your brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you have a right to do so. And
Yeah.
especially in the world of AI tools. And I am a fan of a nice little, come on, AI. Just
Yeah.
give me something. Give me some life in my eyes. I am tired. Help me.
Yeah.
But no, that's respect too. That's respect.
Yeah. I mean, and I've reached out to them. Like, I'll see the photo and I'm like, hey, just making sure, do you want me to send you a new photo? Like, do you want me to do a new edit? I've offered, would you like me to do a new edit? Because I see this photo and I know that's not how I delivered it. Would you like a new edit so it can be higher quality? Or is it just something that you were like, no, this is how I want it, and I just won't be able to point back to it and say, like, I did that, and those are totally fine because, again, I want the person to be happy and like the photo. So if that's your own editing, completely fine, but I want to have the conversation at least.
Love that you want to do that. Again, it shows that your brand is not about just the tactical get things done, but you are trying to learn and understand from that person, right? And yeah, maybe there is a part that they were like, well, you didn't get my flyaways,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, you could have just told me.
Right. Yeah. I definitely want to know. And I think a big thing for me that I'm incredibly proud of is a lot of my clients are 5-8 year clients. Like, I am not in this for a transaction and a one-time client. I want to work with someone through multiple stages of their career, their life, and different things like that. So ideally, I'm building a lifetime client. So I want to make sure that you're happy.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm keep flying you into Dallas.
That's business sustainability 101.
Amen. Amen. All right, Bri, well, thank you so much.
This is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. We're done.
Everybody should be coming to you for clarity and peace of mind and leveling up. Can't recommend enough.